Hello, my virtual mermaids. Thank you so much for coming to my page today. Today, I have Zero from the mighty Ginkgo. She runs a YouTube channel where she is a builder and also an educator as well. So today we're going to be talking about building in Second Life, about being an educator on YouTube, and all things Zero from mighty Ginkgo. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so the first question that I have is, how did you find your way into Second Life?
I came in during the CSI wave. When that episode came on, I was like, oh, this is way better than The Sims. I have to play it. And I've been playing pretty much every day since that episode aired.
Can you remind us about that CSI episode? Was it the one where...
It was all lies. That's what that episode was, lies.
Was it the one where she dressed up as her Abby and she had the blue hair? Yeah, that was a really good one. That was a really good episode.
Yes. So that's what brought me into it. I was totally a Sims person, and I played Sims 1, and I just got into Sims 2. And I saw that episode, and I was like, oh, forget the Sims. Look at that. You get to make your own clothes and talk to people? Oh, my God. I have to play.
So when you first got into Second Life, did you immediately start building, or did you kind of just wander about for a while?
Not immediately. It was more like a week after starting to play. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even by choice because everybody who first joined back then, I was in the club scene and I was escort. At least in my own mind, I was. I sucked at it. I was a terrible escort and dancer. And my friend would tell me, hey, if you want money, you're a girl. Go up to the guys and just ask them for money. Just hey, I'll be your escort if you give me some lindens. And so we went to a sandbox, and she's like, this is where all the men are. Just go over there and I'll give you stuff. So I went around and asked everybody, every man that I saw, at least male looking avatar. And I came across this French guy who's like, no, if you want money, you build. So I'm like, build? What is build? So he taught me how to build, and that just went off from there. And it wasn't even an impressive build. It was just what do you call this? An old skybox. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was mind blowing because it was just a blue box with you know how you hollow out a wall with just a square? Mm-hmm. That was the window. And he had a sculpty light bulb with one of those dingles in the inside of the bulb. It's I made that. You can too. So I have to learn how to make that light bulb. And that was how my building career went off.
So do you know how many years ago that was when you first
12 years ago.
Wow. So building back then is obviously a lot different than it is now. Totally. So building back then was the prim, the box, right? And then you kind of mold it.
Yeah, and the sculpt.
Do you still use the build? I know it's a lot different. We'll actually go into how it's different now, but you still use those building tools that was used?
Of course. The prim, a lot of professionals shun the prim and the sculpt. Mm-hmm. But I still use them because you can still create with it. For me, it's a lot easier to build certain things building apartments or houses with prims and then converting them into mesh and baking them and all that jazz in Blender. But I feel it's a lot easier to do it in world because you got proper scaling. You don't have to have a Second Life skeleton import and pose it and okay, I think this is scaled enough. You can just sling your avatar against the prim and yes, I can walk through this door. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. And then jazz it up inside of Blender. But I always use prims, and I still use the sculpty resources that's still around. Mm-hmm. It's still mesh.
Would you say people were building a lot more back then because all the system was in Second Life versus going outside?
Oh, yes. The building was everything back then. Everybody could build. It was a lot easier back then because it's like you can make this cube into something. I don't know. I felt like it was a lot easier back then and more inviting because I guess what else? Expectations were a little lower back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like looking at your setup here, if we wanted to have this cactus, we could just raise a cube with a picture of a cactus on it, and then there you go. That's a cactus for you. So you don't have to, like now he's like, oh, why would you have that? It must be mesh.
Yeah.
But everything was a lot easier back then.
You talked about that the first thing was a light bulb skybox that you built. What are some of the other things that you made with the Prim system?
Well, recently I've just
like back then, like did you start making clothes?
Back then, I was a horrible builder. I didn't grasp the concept of building up until recently when I did that video on how to build an apartment. That was actually my first home build. Everything else was just editing prims, but I used to make clothes, texture clothes back then. I even had a store that sold cosplay, so that was my gig back in the day.
Oh wow! Did you have it for a while?
Yeah, I had it from I want to say 2008 up until Mesh came out.
So this brings me to my next question, and I've just been looking through the forums like over the years. They talked about how like a lot of clothing designers left when Mesh came in. Why do you think that is? Well,
I can only really say from my point of view, like what happened with me is I used to have a cosplay store called Cosplay Kitsune. And I would make all kinds of cosplay from all kinds of series and mostly video games. And that was, my jam. And then Mesh came out and I was like, well, that's it. Why would anybody want fan art when like people are going to be extracting models from the game and they could just bring it in? So why would anybody want fan art when you can have the exact copy of the character outfit? So it was really like, well, that's it for me. This business is shut down. Back then all you could do was just pick up a Second Life model and just draw. That was it. You didn't need to know how to make a skirt or how physics work or anything like that. Second Life kind of just provided that for you. Your character needs a skirt. Okay, here's a skirt. You just draw on the skirt and there's the texture. And now you have to rig that skirt and make sure that it's got just the right amount of weights inside there and rubber band properly. Doesn't move like paints. So that was really intimidating back in the day when Mesh first came out.
So the other thing I saw in the forums was that people were talking about sort of the cost of like, I know Blender is free, but sort of like Maya and Photoshop. And do you think that cost has something to do with?
No, because nobody pays for that. I mean, anybody who says they pay for that is just trying to keep up appearances. Like, yes, we pay for it. Nobody pays for that. You ask any of those Maya users, and I bet they'll tell you they're students right now trying to use the free trial.
I think you're right on that one. Because I did see one person get called out for using the student version.
They've been students since Maya came out. What university? The University of the United States. That one. But 3D can be really intimidating. Like, even for myself, when I first started, I would just open up Blender. I didn't even do anything. I would open it up, I looked at it, and I would just cry. Because I'm like, I can't do this. I'm not smart. I can't. Just give me my boxes back. I know how to make a box go. How do you do that in 3D space? And that's like a really common thing that I've heard over the years when I got new students. It's just 3D is really intimidating. And that's probably why a lot of people left, because once 3D became norm, nobody is going to accept textures. Of course, now that Bakes on Mesh is a thing now, I'm sure, some of them will come back because now everybody can go back to wearing their clothes again and the bodies do all the work. So you don't have to worry about it. as much.
So with Bakes on Mesh, you can't use the drawing prim system anymore, right? You still have to use Blender, right?
No, you can still draw on Bakes on Mesh. It depends on the avatar, really, because if the avatar has like a, all right, let's just say your avatar, that your body has a default second life UVs, then you can take anything that has the default second life UVs and draw onto it and then wear it, just like we used to do back in the day, like a regular t-shirt or something, and it'll pop right onto your body like you do back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So you don't need anything fancy like Blender or even, well, I would say you would need Photoshop or something to draw it on, but some people use GIMP. Any second life texture will work on it. As long as you have the same UVs as the model, then you can draw the texture on there. It'll lay on there properly.
So is Bakes on Mesh, is it refreshing?
Okay. Not only is it great because of what I just said, being able to just draw on characters and just draw a t-shirt or wear a pair of gloves or something simple like that, but also with avatar creation, you don't need to cut up the body anymore. You can just wear an alpha and then, your body's alphaed out. Versus before, we had to slice up the body, make sure all the faces, normals hair were facing the right way. Make sure all the normals were facing the right way and then script it all onto a HUD. It was just such a pain. But I think now that Bakes and Mesh is back out, we can just wear an outfit. There you go. Avatar set. If you need clothes, everybody has default clothes that are in the inventory. So you could just put on a t-shirt or something so you're not wandering around naked. It's just absolutely great. I love Bakes on Mesh.
Do you think that it's going to get like much more popular as time goes on? Bakes on Mesh?
I think as more people are coming in, I think so. Because from a creator standpoint, I think it's like the bee's knees. And I think it'll make it a lot easier for people who were previously intimidated by creating their own bodies to. I think it's good. I think it's only going to get better, and it's going to be the norm because now you don't have to rely so much on HUDs anymore, and that's more screen that's freed up. And with people now becoming more conscious of their script weight, is that there? There's like, okay, well, that's one less HUD I have to wear. I can just wear clothes. So it just kind of reminds me of the old days. The old days are back. The old simplicity and creation.
So what would you say is like the major barrier holding people back from creating?
If I had to say it based on my students, it's time and fear. Most of the time, people don't have the time to sit and learn how to do it. And when they do have the time, they're afraid to do it because you look at something like, let's use your shirt, for example. They would say, okay, I want to make your shirt. How do I make ruffles? That looks like it'll take time and it's scary. That must be an advanced technique. When all it is just, when you're sewing it, if you're using Marvelous Designer, just make it the pattern slightly bigger than the seam. Done. Ruffles instantly. So most of the time it's just people being afraid to take that step.
So if somebody's coming in right now, they want to start creating right now, would you say like start learning how to make clothes in Marvelous Designer, or would you say start doing Bakes on Mesh?
I guess that depends on what they want to accomplish, really. Because and where they stand on professional and hobby, or if they're good or bad. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good answer because
it really depends on where you stand and what you want to accomplish and what you want to do. Where you should start. Like if my skill is in making textures and things like that, but I don't have the computer or the time to learn how to model out clothes or something, and I would say, okay, then just get into making texture clothes. With Bakes on Mesh, that's possible. You can make a really good texture and put it on your body and wear it like that. It's just like how people used to wear those texture layer clothes on the fancy designer bodies. So it's a good way to start and get your name out there. Like, hey, I can do this. And then if you still don't want to do it, you can, go and hire somebody. Like, hey, look, I drew this out. make that mesh.
Yeah. One thing I've seen is, with the kind of the pre-made clothing that they sell on the marketplace where you retexture it, I do see that people do complain about that. Like, they're like more interested in even just sort of getting into the events and things. Like, they want like original fashions.
Yeah.
So do you think that retexturing like kind of pre-made ones already set up in the marketplace is a good idea?
It's a good way to build up funds, but it's not something that I would really do.
Yeah. Well, you like to do you're I mean, when I look at kind of your channel, you do a lot of original fashions, like creating your own Abby. Like, you very much, like, everything is just very, like, you like, it's almost like when I'm looking at you, it's like you like to try to figure things out, if that makes sense. So it's like, how do I make this, like the ruffles or the seams, like, and sometimes when I've watched your videos, it's like you're figuring it out as we're watching. So sometimes you're like, oh, maybe if I do this.
That's totally like planned in there. I'm not doing that on purpose.
How long?
That's what I try to go in it like, I try to take on these tutorials as if I'm explaining it to a friend, like how you're talking to me now. And pretty much I try to imagine that I'm explaining it to me, and I'm not the smartest or the brightest bulb in the box. So I'm like, all right, if I can explain it to myself, then I'm pretty sure anybody else can get it, because I'm like really slow. And I didn't want to do it perfectly, because I hate it whenever you go look at a tutorial, the people do it and they get it right the first time and no errors, no mistakes. And then when you do it and it has the exact opposite effect, you're like, oh, I must have did something wrong. But little do you know that these people failed like 20 times, and this is the good shot where it just went all the way through. So I try to leave mistakes in there, and just in case, we'll show you the errors that you're going to run into and how to fix it, without making myself seem like, oh no, I get it right every time. You're clearly doing it wrong. No. This is wonder.
Well, your channel is actually really popular. You have a lot of subscribers. I think you're almost close to 7,000 subscribers.
Yay!
And that's pretty massive for Second Life, to YouTube. That's huge.
That's only because I give away free stuff. if I didn't give it away, everybody'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, okay, pass.
Educational wise, it's very popular. Like, when people, when I look in the forums, whenever they're asking about like, where do I go for tutorials to build, your channel pops up constantly. Go to Mighty Gingko.
I'm happy to hear that.
Like, it always comes up. It's like, oh, how do I figure out how to make clothes for, the BBL body? It's like, go to Mighty Ginkgo's video, and people will like link to it.
Up there with donations, not quite, but still up there with the happiness that it brings me that I brought joy to somebody.
When you describe your teaching style, you were saying that it's more just like a friend teaching you, just very kind, very open.
Like, that was always something that when I was learning 3D, I kind of hated that the instructors kind of had this uppity, I know more than you attitude or tone in their voice. And I was like, oh, come on, that's not necessary. Remember, you were a noob too. So I'm like, I try my best not to sound like that. And if I do, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm dumb just like you.
Do you think that body designers should be less restrictive on who they give their developer package to?
Damn right. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I can curse on here.
Yes, you can.
Tootin'.
Yes, you can.
Yes, I think that whole application for a dev kit is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, especially from the betrayed people who were for a very long time telling people that the file was limited. Like, we only have so many dev kits we can give out. And I was, it's a file. You can't hit copy. So that alone was it. But I understand why. It's just pure paranoia. Mm-hmm. But they just need to know that if somebody wants to steal the body, they can steal the body, as I demonstrated multiple times. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just don't understand it, really, because the furry community has clearly shown that if you give people the tools that they need, your product is going to thrive.
Yeah.
Like, let me use the company I work with, Orange Nova. They have the Snaggletooth Kobold. Mm-hmm. And they just give you the dev kit, and it's the snaggle. It has all the UVs on there. It has the model. You can export that snaggle and bring it into Second Life if you want to, but the people respect him enough that they don't do it and just use it to make mods and textures and everything. And it was, for a while, one of the biggest furry, like, highly modded thing ever, mm-hmm. next to the kimono, of course. And they just, here you go, create. The same thing with the kimono. They just give it to you and create. Like, here you go, here's a kit, make stuff. Mm-hmm. That's why you see Maitreya and kimono back and forth is like one of the top things on the marketplace. Because, heirs. I just don't understand why human creators are always so paranoid. Like, bro, it can be stolen at any moment. The kit don't help or slow it down.
Well, with the developer kit, because I understand what you're saying about the paranoia being stolen, but but it being so limited, doesn't it kind of prohibit people from creating, because like you have to have the body mm-hmm. to make the stuff. Yeah. But then you can't get the body, you can't get the developer package.
Yep.
So then
that's exactly it.
So then it's like, it almost seems like it's like a monopoly system, like only certain people get in, but others don't. Am I correct? Yep. Am I correct? Or
you hit it right on the nail. That's exactly what it is. You have to be in the know. It makes it more exclusive and more prestigious if you manage to get one. This marks you as a good creator if you manage to get this dev kit. And just the fact that they like to have the ability to say who gets to do what, I think is kind of like a power play. Like, I say who gets to make this. I judge who's worthy of making clothes. And to me, I think that just fundamentally goes against everything Second Life stands for, where the whole thing is come, play, create. Not some can play. You can look at it, but only some can create. And I hate that so much.
Well, and you probably don't know the answer to this, but what happens if, you apply for the developer package, but you've been using a body that wasn't certified from Maitreya or anybody else, and you go, hey, I made all these clothes, I'd like to apply now. Has anyone?
I personally haven't had that happen, but I know a few of my students have, mm-hmm. and they either they lie mm-hmm. and say that they worked for a company that had it, because I think if you trace back when somebody's friend has at least one official dev kit. Mm-hmm. So like, oh, well, I worked with this company and I made clothes for them. I just meshed it out and they rigged it on their kit and sold it in their store, mm-hmm. kind of distancing themselves from having the bootleg. That was the main thing I've heard my students tell me. The others said that they got rejected and then they just said, you know what, forget it, I'm going to another body, or, you know what, I'll just keep making it myself. And then once they do get the official one, they're like, this is dumb. I'm going back to the bootleg. It's always like a proud moment for me.
So you'd say the furry community is definitely a lot more open than the human.
Yes, totally.
And
I like...
No, go on.
No, I just like they're just way more open when it comes to development, because they want to see more clothes. They want to see their community grow. Mm-hmm. It's not so much as a status or they're like above it all. They're like, you know what, just make clothes for it. I don't care. As long as I see my product out there, that's all that matters. Whereas, I see more in the human one. Well, I only like quality stuff. Like, oh, we like trash. Make that trash. As long as it looks good on me, I don't care.
Like if you're a furry, is it hard to find clothing like in marketplace or?
Hey, I can ask one if you want. Yo, shit. What? She asked the question. She said, "As a furry, do you find it hard to find clothes for yourself on the marketplace?" Well, I don't count. I'm naked all the time.
Oh, he he doesn't make sense.
You know, that makes sense because most of the time, all you see in the furry community is more mods than clothes, and most of the time it's naked mods. Then it's clothes, so maybe that's why they get the dev kit out. Like they have to. Nobody wears clothes; they wear mods.
They wear okay. we're like finding out stuff as we talk. That's really interesting. So the furry community is pretty. It sounds like it's pretty creative. Like,
oh yes, my goodness! All the good scripters I ever met and creators were all furries. Like I learned so much from them.
I like opening my mind so much now.
Sorry.
That's amazing.
Like they're super nice about it, and of course you get the occasional. I can't tell you. Oh yeah, actually I can use that as an example. When we did the tutorial on avatar creation, and we were trying to show how to make clockwork heads. This was before bento rigging was a thing. I went to the furry creators and I was asking them like, hey, I want to make a tutorial and teach people how to do this. Can you help me? And he's like, I really, really want to help you so bad, but it's like, this is how I make my living. So I can only give you hints. Search for the scripts. I was like, oh, okay. I shall look for the scripts. So they're really nice. Even when they're not trying to help you, they're trying to help you.
Yeah.
You'll meet a lot of nicer furry people than you would humans, at least in my experience.
I find it so interesting that you call them humans. I love that.
Well,
it's the best.
Well, what should I call you guys? The fleshies?
The fleshies.
Those awful.
It's like you know. Do you watch Harry Potter? Like when they call the non-magical folks muggles.
You know, the muggles.
The muggles. That's amazing. So one thing, and this is just like off topic, but I love the ball jointed dolls. I think they're so beautiful. Why didn't that take off? Like, I
guess it's because the skins. That's the only thing I could think. Because, Coco Doll, obviously.
Yeah, I have all of them. I love them.
I just blew out all of my donation money on them maybe like 2 weeks ago when they had that sale.
Yeah, I got all that. All the fashions.
Me too. High fives.
But you know, the fashion was so limited. There was only a couple of dresses. I mean, it wasn't that many. And I looked on the marketplace to see if anybody made stuff, and it was like nothing.
That's because she didn't release a dev kit for it. Like I tried to make one, and it was off a little bit. I think because it looks like it's made in Maya, so it's a little difficult to make a dev kit when you go from Maya to Blender. So that was going to take some time, but then stuff happened and I wasn't able to finish it because I wanted to actually work with her, and she never replied back to me. And then I tried. I think they say she speaks Japanese. I tried, whipping out my fanciest of Nihongo translators, and she still ain't respond back to me. So I was like, okay, so if she doesn't want me to make it, and maybe nobody likes it, so why should I? But I think that it probably didn't go up because of, like you said, the limited fashion and the fact that maybe people wanted more realistic skins on there, but you couldn't get that if you don't have the dev kit.
Yeah. So she didn't give out. If she didn't give out the dev kit, then that kind of that just kind of halts anybody from creating anything.
Yeah, only she can create stuff for it.
Oh.
Unless somebody was to extract the doll, re-upload it, and create a dev kit from that model. But hers as is, no, there's not really a dev kit for it.
Maybe that's what she wanted to just create the stuff for and not anybody else. Maybe that was
Probably.
Yeah. It's a shame.
I wouldn't know if she ain't respond back.
Yeah. It's a shame because it's such a beautiful doll.
No, it totally is.
And it's like stunning to take photos with. And I just, I did a dance with the dolls. They have the boy and the girl. Mm-hmm. I did a ballet dance and it was just so beautiful. But and I'm like, I only have like 4 dresses. I need more stuff.
I was gonna make.
Do you think she kind of gave up on it? Like, just not adding more stuff for...
She probably thinks it's more profitable. Like, if just guessing, I think she would probably think it's more profitable to make clothes for regular people than it is to make it for dolls. Because I think she does still sell regular clothes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
On the other side of the mall.
It's just such a bummer because I when I look at Flickr, there's a fan base for it. I see tons of photos with it. Like, there's still, like, a cult following. It's just not like what you said for the fleshies. It's not like... But there's still a cult following.
Well, maybe she'll respond one day and we can start working on that dev kit.
Yes.
As it is, Miss
Coco, respond to Zero from Mighty Gingko. She wants to help you with the dev kit.
Please.
We need to bring the ball jointed dolls back to life.
Yes.
The men clothing, I think people could really step up on that.
Yeah, totally. I secretly made men's clothing just to fund, my research over here, and I was so surprised at how much it sold. I was like, this crap? Y'all like this? I think I'm in the wrong business, but I just can't stick. I can't stay committed to anything for longer than 2 months, and then it's like, I've been on this for too long. I need a new experiment. Something needs to be tested.
Do you have a marketplace, like store that you sell all your products?
Well, sell isn't quite the right word for it, but yes.
Not on
They're all freebies or something.
They're on. Do you like? But you like say somebody wants to. Because I saw one time you had like a building that you were building. I think it was like it wasn't a coffee shop, but it was a tiny little building that was
the Animal Crossing. Cafe.
It looked like somebody might have hired you to do it. Like if some
No, I did that because out of sheer boredom. I was just like, you know what? I want to hang out in the cafe from Animal Crossing, and I tried to look for it and nobody had it. And so I was like, I can try building it. Why not? And that was all besides for a few decorations and maybe a door and a window, all of that was made out of prims. So viva la prims.
So if someone wants to hire you to kind of work on a project, because building takes a lot of time. So if somebody wanted to hire you to kind of build something, would you do it? Like, would you be up for like...
Ooh, I'm actually retired.
You're retired.
That's why I was shocked when you contacted. I was like, what, me? Really? I'm retired, right?
But you're still educating.
Well, I'm retired, but you wouldn't know it. I'm not as active as I used to be. Like, I used to be on Second Life every single day, all night, answering questions, troubleshooting, helping, rigging, and stuff like that every single day, and it just got to be too much.
Yeah.
I just recently stopped doing it. So I'm on here like every other day, as opposed to every single day. But you are still very active on your YouTube. Educating. Oh yeah. I can't stop that.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, no, I'm gonna enjoy real life today. All right, I'm gonna go rig something. Let's hang out on a live and rig somebody.
Yeah, like because even though you may have stopped, doing that aspect in Second Life, you're still educating, so you're still doing it.
Way to break my life. Oh yeah, I'm retired, everybody. I'm still doing it.
You're on YouTube all the time. It ain't over, lady.
I can't tell. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. I mean, I just did a 6-hour live last night. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Not as much, but still here.
It's like, have you noticed that you have more time to?
Yeah, oddly enough, I'm like, I keep waking up about 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, oh wow, great! I'm about to do next. I jump up and like, I gotta go help. No one. Oh, all right, and then I go back to sleep. Or my deadlines, and like there is no deadlines, not anymore, and just go back to sleep. So I've been catching up on that a lot more now, and it's just like it just seems like there's more time in a day when there's not a crushing deadline or somebody on fire in front of you.
Yeah. So if someone was to start today and they said, you know what, I really want to get really good at rigging, or although there would be kind of a different timeline, so maybe give me 2 different timelines. But if they were like, I really want to be really good at rigging or be really good at bakes on mesh, create a product that I could sell it in marketplace, realistically, how long do you think that would take?
I would say anywhere between an hour and a day.
Really?
Yeah, it's not making clothes is not that hard. It's trying to optimize them, I guess, that takes the most time. But if you want a nice, quick, I need to go, rig, you can get that done in and if you're just starting out, like an hour or so, if depending on which video you watch. Like if you watch my tutorials, you'll be a master by the end of the first playlist.
To learn how to rig, but to actually to actually make a product to sell.
Yeah, from scratch or so. Yeah, I would say like an hour to a day. It's not that long.
Really? That's amazing. I thought it would take like months to actually learn how to make something good enough to sell.
Yeah, I mean, like, it really depends on what you judge is good enough to sell.
Oh, I see.
Like, yeah, because if you're trying to be like, oh, I want to be like this company or that company, then it's going to take a lot longer because you're trying to emulate somebody else's style. But if you're doing it your own way, like, okay, this looks good to me and I like it, then you can put it on the marketplace right there. It just depends on what you think is good enough. What's good enough?
What's good? So texturing, people do talk about textures being an issue. Like they'll say, "Oh, the dress looks good, but the texture is terrible."
I get that a lot. I'm a horrible texturer.
Is texturing hard to learn?
For me, it is. I guess it just depends on what your artistic level is. It's just like if somebody would say, is it easy to paint something, or can you draw realistic pictures? But then again, maybe you don't have to. It just depends on your market. So sometimes you can just get away with doing a shadow bake on it and then just painting it pink and then adding in a picture on there, and then there you go, t-shirt. But if you want photorealistic jeans or something, then how do I paint on jean texture? How do I get this normal map to put that on there? How does a jean shine, if a jean shines at all? And the lighting and stuff. But you can't go photorealistic all the way, like taking a picture of jeans and smacking it on there, or else you'll end up with Second Life 07. So it's a delicate balance of making cartoon realism, and that's what bogs you down in time. But if your character is like, actually, I think it was a good idea to like look at me and look at you.
Yeah,
how your clothes look like, oh, that's like my person would wear, and then look at me and like, oh, this is something a cartoon would wear.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on what you're going for.
I'm saying like, so would you say like for the furry market, like they're okay with maybe more of like a
cartoony kind of thing? Yeah, I think that's pretty cool with them because majority of them are cartoonishly colored or very anime geared. So bright colors and it's like it's fine for them. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's some of them, not all of them. Some of them like go all out in details, like a combination of both of our garments together, and then they have a cartoon face. You know, you're looking at a sports mascot wearing like super elaborate, detailed clothes. So I guess it just depends on the person.
So would you say the fleshies take themselves a little too seriously?
Very much. Especially this generation of humans. It's all serious, where like back in my day, everybody was goofy.
Like they're just like, my avatar has to be perfect. Is that?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Because how can I say? Like my gen, we didn't really care about it so much. I think back then, Second Life was whoever had the oiliest skin. That's how more realistic you were. The shinier your skin was, the more realistic you were. And now it's like I gotta look exactly like a Monster High doll.
Sorry.
Sorry. I didn't mean to be so insulting. I'm sorry.
No, you're not insulting at all.
It's just I just see a lot of people take their appearance more seriously nowadays. Everybody wants to be that Instagram beauty in Second Life, whereas back then it was like, I just want to look nice so I don't get kicked out of this place. And one thing that gets me about this gen of players is the photos on top of real people. I see those pop up on Facebook all the time, and it's just gotta kind of do a double take when you have a photo, like a human woman, like a real life person, and then they got a Second Life head like picked on top of it, and that's pretty much what everybody's trying to go for. I don't get it.
Yeah, I've seen that where it's like the skin looks like, and that it's actually on people will talk about that on SL Secrets. Like they'll use like they'll use a model's photo, like a popular model, and it's like, oh, you didn't like create the skin from scratch, like you just use the model's face.
You know what? Nobody has been doing that everybody's been doing that for years. Like, I remember there used to be a program called, what was it? It's like Educator or something like that, where you just have a default Second Life skin, and you can take pictures, import them in, and then you trace out the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and it right onto the Second Life character's face.
Oh wow!
So you would have a default skin, but your face was all covered, like beautiful, picturesque.
Well, like I remember, because I came back to Second Life 5 years ago, but then I was here, I think like maybe 10 or 11 years ago. But I was only here for like a short period of time. And I remember, the classic avatars and like the flexi hair. And, and like, so for like when you look at the classic avatar, like from 12 years ago, and then you look at, we're talking the humans, right? So it went from classic to like what we have now, which is like essentially what I'm wearing. Although mine is there are ones that are a little bit even more realistic than mine. But complete mesh, right? I'm not a classic avatar. It's hard to say like if you think if it was better back then, because most people who have mesh are like, oh, mesh is so much better than classic. It looks so much better now than it did back then.
Well, I'm a classic avatar right now. So you can like clearly see the difference between A and B. Yeah. I think it's a bit yes and no. Because I like that with my body here being a classic avatar, my shape is my shape. There's not really a lot of people that would have my body type. Whereas nowadays, everybody has that same Maitreya shape, that same E shape with very small variations. I feel like even though we were all Ruth back then, when everybody had to create their own shape and their own look, you saw a different variety of people.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now it's all, everybody's got the same body, just very, very slight differences in it.
Difference. There's still a lot of people that still use classic avatars. I see them all the time.
Yeah.
You know, or they have I did this for a while. I had a classic head, but the Maitreya body because I couldn't find, you know, it was mostly shoes, but I had a classic head for a long time. There's kind of like a snootiness with classic avatars. If people who use like, oh, you're still using a classic. You haven't gone up to mesh yet.
Yes. Totally yes. I can't say yes hard enough. Whenever I walk around as my classic self, my friends would just grab me and they're like, okay, guess what? I need you to help me go somewhere. I'm like, okay. And they took me to the Maitreya store. I'm like, okay, here, buy it. I'm like, what? Like, you can't do this anymore. You need to have a mesh body. So this was actually 4 friends that did this. I have a Maitreya body. Somebody bought me out of pity. A Beliza body. Somebody bought me out of pity. And the E body. They're like, please, Zero, you deserve to have a mesh body. You don't have to rough it with the classic. I'm like, but I like my classic. So it's totally a snob thing in there. So I just was like, you know what, fine. I want the best of both worlds. And I just converted my classic body into a bento one.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, once Bakes on Mesh came out, it was like having my classic body all over. The joys of that is that I get to smooth myself out and give myself more shape and definition in places my classic body failed. I'm not wearing it right now because, you know, you saw me trying to put my clothes on earlier. It was messed up. I was like, none of my clothes fit. Crap, I forgot. So I'm just wearing the classic body right now. Because, yeah. But normally I'm just that classic bento hybrid mashup.
But so what about flexi hair? How do you feel about flexi hair?
I don't have anything against it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it still. I just go with any hair that looks nice.
Yeah.
A lot of the times people add flexi into mesh to make it, you know, move.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed a little more realistic, but I like it. I still like some sculpty hairs too.
Sculpty, yeah. You had a hair tutorial video that was good. We used that animation software.
Oh, Vioroid.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to pronounce that properly.
I mean,
Vioroid.
Yeah.
Vioroid.
But there's not many. I don't think there's any hair tutorial videos, and you were the only one that was like, "Hey, here's a program, and you can make hair with it. Try it out."
Oh yeah, people have took that tutorial and ran with it. I had a student who came to me, and his hair looked exactly like your hair, and he's like layers. I was like, oh, so cool! I never would have thought of that. But a lot of the times, people use hair tool now, so the Vroid is kind of out of date, but that one's free, so that's what I usually point people towards.
Oh, so people use a program called Hair Tool?
Oh, it's a plug-in for Blender that makes low poly or polygon kind of hair, like video game style hair.
Oh wow!
They're plain, sculpted planes.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, it's pretty much Vroid except for I would say more professional, but you have to pay for it.
Oh, I see.
So I always try to show people the free alternative first before going to paid one. And if it's paid, slip them a free one.
Well, that's actually a good idea because because what if the person says, oh, they decide to do it and they're like, oh, I hate it. At least they're like, well,
yeah,
I kind of mastered the free one. Let me get the paid one and see what I can do with it. What tips do you have for someone starting out with building and creating?
Well, make sure you have enough time to start. Don't get frustrated too much. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be painful and it's gonna be frustrating. But once you master it, it's gonna be like super easy. And just don't try to be like anybody else. Be your own thing, because trying to imitate somebody else's style or somebody else's skill or somebody else's store, that's a quick way to put yourself down, and it's like a fast track to failure.
So be original with your designs.
Just be be original. Be yourself. Don't try to copy somebody else. Because I lost way too much time trying to imitate Bear Rose when I could have just been myself.
Why did you want to educate on others on building on YouTube?
You want the honest answer or one that would sound nice as a response?
The honest answer.
It's actually because it's my form of grieving. I'm originally from the Goon Squad, and we are notorious griefers. Well, I was supposed to be a griefer, but I'm terrible at it and kept blowing myself up. So the boss is like, well, what else can you do? And I'm like, well, I can rig. I just learned how to do that. And he's like, okay, well, make a video showing our members how to rig. Because back then, we didn't have the ability to steal rigged mesh. All we did was steal static mesh. And you had to rig it. But nobody knew how to rig anything. So I learned how to rig, and I originally just made the video to teach people how to rig the mesh that they swiped. And then it was just one question after another, and how do you do this? And how would you do that? And the channel just like, okay, I can make a video explaining that. I know how to do that. And it just kept going on. And then somebody was in a Blender group asking for help, and all the professionals who were in there, the longest, the vets, they were like, read the Blender manual, or nobody's going to teach you how to use Blender for free. You got to learn to do it yourself. And I'm like, why won't you teach her for free? You know how to do it. Help your fellow person out. And they're like, well, am I getting paid? I was like, oh, well, I'll show you. I'll teach her how to do it, and for free. So I started getting really serious with the channel and making the tutorials off of that, because I wanted to say, there is somebody out there that will help you for free. You don't have to have money if that was pretty much the whole basis of well, got to pay for materials, but it's not a whole have or have nots can only create.
So when you, because we have a lot of new people coming into Second Life, could you describe because griefer means different things. So when you're saying griefer with Goon Squad, what does that mean?
Our sole mission was to cause grief to a person for the lulls. If that meant dropping a whole bunch of stack boxes on their sim, or crashing the sim, or causing the sim to lag, seeing their reaction when you post a sea of bouncing, violent or graphic images, and seeing how people react to it and then laughing at them. So, causing you emotional or computer stress or grief.
Okay.
Griefer.
But then you weren't very good at it. So then no,
I was terrible at it. Very, very terrible at it. You see, in order to join the Goon Squad, at least back then, you had to prove your worth. You couldn't just steal stuff and post it and be like, "Oh, I'm a goon." No, you had to cause destruction on somebody's sim. So I tried to do it, and I kept blowing myself up in the process. Let's say we had to put a box down that would explode and shoot pictures of something terrible wiggling about and screaming. Okay, so that was what I had to do. But I put it on my sim by mistake and blew up my own sim. And he's like, okay, well, let's maybe that was too complex for you. Maybe you could try something easier. Put this graphic crasher out. All you have to do is first res out the prim, and I'm like, and then he's like, then you drop the script into it, but he was going on to explain more to it, but I put the script into the prim and crashed my whole sim. Again, just as I got it cleaned up from the earlier explosion. So I was just awful at griefing. So this is actually my form of griefing, is by giving out information and knocking down the
establishment.
That's my form of griefing.
So
I grief with knowledge.
But from the griefing, you know, would you say you've changed to more being a positive, being educational?
Sure.
Because you have a lot of people have learned so much from you.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you know, it does seem like a kind of like a Robin Hood feel with you.
Robin Hood. Okay, that's kind of an ongoing joke, really, with all the people who watch the Mighty Ginkgo channel, is that I claim to be a pirate, and they're like, no, Zero, you're a Robin Hood. I'm like, no, I'm not. I am a pirate. And they're like, first of all, where do you live? I'm like, in a forest sim. And like, and who lives with you? My group of fellow thieves. And you're always what? Happy, right? One would say merry. I'm like, no, we're all angsty pirates living in the woods. That's all. So yeah, my friends are always joking about that I'm actually a Robin Hood character and not a pirate.
So would you say your griefing days are over?
They never began. Not in the traditional sense of griefing, no. I consider myself an education griefer. I give out and it causes some people grief. There you go.
Yeah. But some people, but there's still, I mean, it's just your all your tutorials that you do. However people feel about it, it's still very useful to a lot of people. You know, you can't take that away. That you do provide a valuable resource for somebody who needs to learn how to build and doesn't have like a ton of money to start.
Yeah, because I just always think like how I would have liked somebody to help me when I was starting out.
Yeah,
because if y'all think it's quiet now, it was silence, dead silence back when Mesh first came out. You had to get pieces from stuff and listen to other people's problems and piece it together to create a theory and then test that theory out and then be like, boom, that's how you do it.
So would you say you're like the bad girl of educators? You're a little...
I like to think I am. I really do like to think I'm a bad guy.
A pirate. I think you're Robin Hood.
A pirate. No tights here, only boots.
Only boots.
Just wanted to know.
So, after you started educating people from YouTube, did it start to have? Did you feel like you were doing something kind of altruism? Like, did you feel like you were really helping people? Yeah,
I thought that. Well, after I started doing the tutorials, I got a lot of fan mail back and a lot of people talking to me about how they were finally able to fix this or able to do that. And it's like a very warm feeling inside, like you're actually changing somebody's world through experiments and just sharing the info. So, yeah.
Do you have any success stories of people that were able to create businesses in Second Life and make some lindens or possibly
lots,
make a living?
I reckon they don't want me to say who they are. No. They're like a lot of them. I'm like, Maitreya owes me so much money. Half of like half of the Maitreya people are students of mine. I'm like, come on, look at that watch count.
So outside of creating in Second Life, what do you like to do for fun in real life?
Besides sleeping, create in real life, do research. I just started, like, I've been sewing all my life. I've always loved to sew, even though I'm not good at it. I just started getting into embroidery, freestyle embroidery. I'm waiting for a new needle to come in the mail because it broke off the machine and chucked me right in the eyebrow.
Oh no.
It was hilarious though, but it's like I almost lost an eye embroidering a scrap piece of fabric, some old underwear. I'm like, that's a fun story to tell people. Like, how'd you get that patch in like the Dark Knight? I was in the basement. Lost an eye. Trying to embroider some drawers. Sorry.
So you like to embroider machine embroidery, right? Not like hand embroidery?
Not hand. I used to do hand when I was a kid, but I do not have that coordination anymore. Mm-hmm. Years of blendering has taken that away.
Yeah.
So I try to use the machine. I just started that. I'm just a stereotypical Etsy housewife. That's all. So, sculpting. Huh?
I love Etsy housewife. That's amazing.
That's exactly what I am.
That's what I would describe housewife. Myself to.
High five, Etsy.
Like, I've never heard it described as that, and I've always been trying to figure out what I am, but now I know I'm an Etsy housewife.
There's no shame in it. Like, we do all the stuff that, the people on Etsy would do. Like, embroider, sculpting, making candles, dabbling in lipstick.
Yeah.
Perfumes.
Audiobooks, or do you listen to a lot of music while you're at home embroidering?
Oh, yeah. Yes to both of those. Mm-hmm. I used to have a whole bunch of audiobooks, but I stopped paying for audibles.
Yeah.
So that was that. And that was the end of that trip. Mostly just listening to music. Listening isn't the right word. Blasting music is right.
What kind of music do you like?
I'm really into future funk right now. Future funk, Japanese music, video game music, classical music, everything. 8-bit and chip tunes are good too. I just listen to everything.
Everything. What would you say is your favorite movie?
It's so hard. It's like choosing. Like, somebody asked me, "What's my favorite child?" Mm-hmm. I had to say The Birdcage is my favorite movie. I can watch that anytime and drop everything. That and what's that movie? The Producers, the original one.
Oh.
Yeah, I can sing "Springtime for Hitler" by memory. Much to the dismay of everybody around me. So always kicks in at about 4:00 in the morning.
So you're not like a romance fan?
If the movie's good, I guess.
What's
that movie? Oh, I love that movie too. Sorry, I'm thinking about all the movies I love.
What movie did you just think of?
Death Becomes Her.
Oh, that's a good movie.
I just saw that movie. I never seen it before.
That's a good movie. I like that one.
I like all movies except for horror movies and suspense. I can't take that.
Are you like big into like 90s movies or like a certain 90s or 80s?
40s and 50s.
40s and 50s?
I kind of grew up with a lot of TMC, so
yeah.
I like a lot of those movies from that decade, the golden era of Hollywood. I can watch some movies from the 90s or so, but it really just depends on what catches my eye. I don't have this is one of those movies. I must watch it.
So Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Never seen it.
You should see it. With Audrey Hepburn, it's such a good movie. Feel like
I'll add it to the list.
Yes. What about Marilyn Monroe movies, since you said 40s and 50s?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm not a Marilyn fan. No. That lady couldn't act her way out of a handbag. Yeah. She was just pretty to look at, if that, but she could not act. If anybody, I'm a Betty Davis person.
Oh yeah, she's very good. Favorite type of food?
Anything with seaweed in it is good. I like sushi a lot. I eat that any chance I get.
Do you make it at home, your own sushi?
Oh, goodness gracious, no. That should only be left to professionals.
Well,
I eat the seaweed, but that's about it.
You could roll yourself like a cucumber roll, with some avocado.
Actually, I despise cucumber with a passion. So that's usually my advice. It's like, oh, just make a cucumber roll.
So did you stock up on soy sauce for the quarantine?
Actually, I'm one of those weird people that already has like 3 gallons of soy sauce here for any given reason. Like, have you ever gone to the supermarket and then they have, like, mostly in Walmart, they have the little soy sauce bottles, the cute one that looks like a salt shaker, and then you got the regular one that's kind of like a hot sauce bottle, and then you got the gallon one that's supposed to be used to refill all the cute little ones.
Yeah.
I have like 2 of those upstairs.
You have 2.
I don't know, like, everything I want to cook, like, oh, I should put some soy sauce in it. Like, if I'm cooking meat or something, and I gotta marinate it in soy sauce and sugar to keep it tender. Always keep meat that around.
I stocked up on soy sauce, and my friend, I told her, I said, you should go to the grocery store and get soy sauce. She's like, whatever, like, it's fine. And she's, like, calling me. She's like, I've been eating plain white rice with no soy sauce, and she's like, and it sucks. I said, I told you. And I'm like, and I have none to share. I don't have any extra. Like, I have what I have.
None to spare. Sorry.
So how would you describe your personal style?
Like,
in real life, and then also in Second Life?
Oh. Well, in real life, in real life, much to dismay of my husband, I have no style whatsoever. Because growing up, my mom was kind of strict, so I had to wear like traditional American clothes, like a jeans and t-shirt, and formal clothes, like, very business-like clothes all the time. So if it was like jeans and t-shirt or turtleneck and slacks all the time. So I really didn't have that childhood teenager expression of my developing my own style outside of anime. My hair was the only thing I was really allowed to change, and even that was limited to mild colors. So I didn't really develop it. So now that I'm like 30, I'm trying to figure out what style of clothes that I like. So it varies. It can be itai style, which is, it hurts. Like, if you look at me and your eyes start watering because it's so bold and shocking that I dress right, to being like regular professional boss lady clothes I absolutely hate, but that's what's mostly in my closet.
So when you say like boss lady, you mean like a blazer and a skirt? Yeah,
like blazer or a skirt or a cardigan. It looks like this is the boss going to work, or that wait, I got the best way to describe it. That black lady that's always at church, the deacon's wife, or the one that's always there. That's usually how I am, like church style clothes.
Like a librarian.
Yeah, that's better. That's actually better than a librarian.
Yeah, that's like a cardigan with a pencil skirt.
Very subtle.
Slacks,
most of the time. But I'm trying to break out of that and get wild. Graphic T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah. Was it
revolutionary.
like people gifted you that stuff? Like, did your mom buy you this stuff and you're just like, all right, I'll just keep it in the closet?
I guess you could say that, yeah. Because I just had the clothes that my mom gave me, and then I just kind of cycled them out in variations. I really wasn't big on buying clothes because of the stuff that was going on with us. So I didn't really get a chance to experiment or have all those old art stuff I had from back when I used to live with my parents. But like now it's like the hubby's giving me money since I'm not spending it on Second Life anymore. That's a part of the reason why I retired, is how much money I was spending on Second Life. So now that I have all that extra money, I've been just buying like graphic shirts and different types of jeans and stuff like that, trying to develop a style.
Yeah.
But staying within norms and then expanding out of those norms.
So in Second Life, that's where you experiment with your style.
Second Life, I don't really have a style here either because I'm so busy making another avatar. I'm always something different every 5 minutes. This is the most consistent outfit I've had in the past 5 years.
So you're always making different Abbies.
Yeah, so I'm never really the same thing for more than a week or so, or however long it takes me to develop it. Would
you say now that you're making more furry Abbies?
I would. Furry, anime, just all around anything that catches my attention. They're mostly game rips, and then some original ones that I made, but mostly rips that I jazz into avatars.
So what would you say is your interior design style?
Oh, Rococo, hands down.
Rococo?
Yes, I love Rococo style so much.
So you like the opulence, the Regency, the gold, the veneer.
The gold, the white, the lace.
Chandelier.
Yes.
With champagne.
I only just recently had champagne for the first time, so I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah. But everything else, yes. I like the whole, I'm going to say Victorian era, but I also like Versailles, as cheesy and stereotypical as that is. I like everything Versailles. So that's like my favorite style of all. I used to live in a Versailles sim until it had that unfortunate accident, but...
do we want to know what happened?
Oh, well... it didn't involve me. I didn't do it this time, if that's what it sounds like. No, the builders, there was an argument with one girl who went to the builder and started a rumor about the owner. And the builder was like, all right, well, fine, I want more money. And the owner said no. So the builder selected everything that she built and blinked out the textures for everything. So the whole sim just went from this beautiful, highly decorated, oh my God, I'm in Versailles right now, to just white.
Wow. That must have been really sad, like for you.
Oh, yes. I didn't have anywhere to go after that. I was living the fantasy.
So do you have a home here in Second Life? Or are you...
I live on a block. I live on a prim cube on the side of the road. That's my sim. I used to have a huge full sim, but when I saw how much... What? Oh, you laughing at me living on a block on the side of the road? Yeah, it is. I'll show you. It's just a block on the side of the road. Nothing fancy. A nice 512 block.
Okay, so you live... Okay, so 512, that's not bad.
That's terrible. It's awful. You don't gotta jazz it to make me feel better. I know it's awful. I went from a full sim to a 512 block on the side of the road. even an active road. It's an abandoned road.
My next question is Second Life a game?
I feel like the Mighty Boosh said it best when they're like, it's not a game. It's not so much a game. It's an experience. It's a way of life, and life is a game. So, Second Life is the best game ever.
For someone who's starting out building, which one of your videos should they start out with?
That kind of depends on what they're building.
Mm-hmm. So if they're trying to rig clothes or
Back to Basics the Back to Basics playlist.
Okay.
Back to Basics #1.
And then if they want to do the bakes on mesh, do you have like a basics videos for that as well?
No, not so much as a playlist as much as a 3-hour video. It was you only need to watch 15 minutes of it. That explains everything you need to know about bakes on mesh. What it is, how to use it, and then it just gets goofy afterwards.
So, how has Second Life been positive in your life?
I think it gave me a lot of... it's kind of hard to say. I'm trying not to cry. Like, Second Life has given me a lot of joy. Mm-hmm. It gave me a lot of confidence, I guess. It was a way for me to reach out and touch people. No, it allowed me to get in contact with people who I normally wouldn't. Because I started playing this in my late teens. Mm-hmm. And during this time, I was just starting to go into isolation. So I wasn't able to talk and have a social life, if you will. Mm-hmm. So Second Life allowed me to be able to go outside and meet people, interact with people, form friendships that I wasn't able to do in real life.
Wow.
So it's special to me in that way.
How has it been negative?
Just as it gave me all those friendships, it gave me like massive heartache. Mm-hmm. Because not like romantically or anything, despite me having 4 husbands.
Are you Elizabeth Taylor?
I wish. Wait, 4? No, I had way more husbands than that. At least, including him over there, at least 6.
I think Elizabeth Taylor had about 6.
Oh, well, you know what they say about us regal ladies. But no, not like love heartbreak, but more or less the heartbreak that comes from the loss of friendships. Mm-hmm. And the Second Life drama that goes along with this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama. I'm finding out.
So that really is the negative, the pain that comes from playing this for so long and investing too much of your heart into it and having that betrayed, mm-hmm. Stuff like that. That I think that's the big negative. Plus, all the time is sucked out of my life. If I wasn't playing this, I totally would have been in politics. But
so when you said you met like a lot of people that were different from you. Do you remember like your first real friendship in Second Life?
I remember Move. Oh my god, hang on one second. I'm sorry. She actually passed away in real life.
Okay.
So thinking about her, it just makes me cry a bit.
We don't have to go there if it's too much.
No.
Okay.
It's fine. So her name was Missy Weatherwax. I'm not sure if that was really her display name, but we always called her Missy. Mm-hmm. She was at the club that I worked at. She was actually the one that I met that told me to go to the sandboxes and shake it for Lindens. So I was like, I would have never met somebody like her because like I said, I had to be in isolation, and my mom was really, really strict, so I couldn't even pretend to look at a nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
So meeting her in such a place and seeing her philosophy of life was actually a joy to me. And it's like one of my best memories of this game. And when she passed away, it was really heartbreaking.
I'm sorry that she passed.
It's okay. It was like 11 years ago.
Yeah. So you grew up a lot in Second Life.
Yeah, I went from teenager to 20s. I started playing this when I was like maybe 17, 18. I'm like 30 now. So, yes.
What can we expect from your channel over the next couple of months?
Oh, that's hard to say since everything is random.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully some more tutorials on a couple programs that I picked up. I also want to do a really in-depth tutorial on how to make alternative bakes on mesh bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody, like, I don't know if you know, but I was in a project called, oh dang, even I forgot what that project was called. It just, once it was done, I was like, yeah, I'm free! Free! Oh, hang on 1 second. I can't believe I forgot. I had it in my head. Like, I did this project. It was the body positivity campaign because it was like a plus size and
Oh.
All right, so we were working on that, and we made alternative mesh bodies with different shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just the plain, like normal Barbie doll. It was like a larger lady
Mm-hmm.
with my body type, and petite girls, and all kids and things. Trying to show more bodies and everybody be the.
Do you think subconsciously, like, you're pushing your students to maybe not have, the human avatar like everybody, like maybe doing something a little outside the box?
I just want everybody to create what they want to create.
Mm-hmm.
To not think that only this is what is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to create things, but I know if I want to make money, I can only make it for the material, or I'll have to make something that looks like the material. I'm like, no, there's other things out there, you can create this and it can look good. That's really what I really want people to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just to know that you can create other things besides what the norm is.
Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video with you is because of the quarantine that we're in. People have a lot of time, more time. And I hear, I read in the Facebook people saying they're bored all the time. So they actually have, time to actually watch your videos and actually start building.
Yes, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like, people should, with the time, start building, learning?
Yes, build and sleep.
And sleep.
There's no greater thing to do in this quarantine than to catch up on all your sleep and maybe create something new.
This sadly brings us to the ending of my interview with Zero from Mighty Gingko. Please check out her YouTube page and subscribe. Also, make sure that you check out all of the beginning tutorial videos that she mentioned. All of her credits will be down below. And thank you so much, Zero, for being here. And I hope to actually have you again on my channel at some point.
It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks.
Lastly, Zero has graciously given all of our viewers this free home. It's an efficiency studio, and it has a bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom. And I'm just going to show you a little video of it. And also, she reached over 7,000 subscribers, so we'd like to congratulate her on such an amazing accomplishment. So, yeah. Make sure you go to her marketplace. The link will be down below, and it is called the Robin Hood Studio. Thank you.